Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a listener request head on. We got asked to do a really deep, critical look at a specific project, one that's, well, trying to blend that wild meme energy with some serious DeFi structure.
Exactly. We're diving into the plans, the roadmap, the whole setup for DMND on Base.
Yeah, DMND or Diamond on base.
Right. And this isn't your average, pump and dump meme coin, or at least that's not how it's presenting itself. It's built on Coinbase's Layer 2 Base. And the big thing that jumped out from our research is this focus on transparency and actual structure.
So for you listening, think of this as us taking a really close look at their white paper, their social stuff, trying to figure out how they actually plan to execute this multi-phase development they keep talking about.
Especially in a space that's, let's be honest, known for anonymous teams and lots of volatility right out of the gate.
We've gone through their official site, their team notes, website, white paper, social media, all the core stuff. And our job here is really twofold. First, just understanding the sheer, audacity of having such a detailed plan in the meme coin world.
A world that usually thrives on pure hype, right?
Exactly. And second, digging into the actual mechanics of that three-phase plan they've laid out. What are they building? And maybe more importantly, what are the structural commitments holding it all together? Or, maybe not holding it together.
And the hook is it's kind of wild. You've got the tech side, base layer 2, build for security, for scale, for proper DeFi. And then you marry that with this mascot, a blue-skinned female Pepe.
Which is, probably the most recognizable meme character online and often pretty controversial, too.
It feels intentional, this clash. Like institutional security mixed with this almost anti-establishment vibe from the meme narrative.
So it really makes you wonder, right, is this structure legit? Or is it just really, really clever marketing? Let's dig in.
Okay, so let's start with that core identity. The story behind it all, this sort of emotional hook. DMND launched, early this year, January 23rd, 2025, on base layer 2.
Correct. And the face, the character, is Diamond, this blue-skinned female version of Pepe the Frog.
Right.
And the story they've built around her is very specific. And honestly, from a marketing angle, it's pretty smart. The narrative is that Diamond escaped a, quote, toxic relationship with the original Pepe.
Okay.
And now she's all about personal empowerment, achieving what they call Diamond status.
Which ties into the token name, obviously. Yeah. The sources we looked at even mentioned this ongoing drama, like Pepe is supposedly still trying to win her back.
Yeah.
It adds this whole soap opera layer to it.
Yeah, it keeps the narrative alive. But the stated purpose, the social mission bit, is that they're using this whole story as a tribute to people who've dealt with unfair treatment in relationships, aiming to inspire self-worth, resilience, that kind of thing. So connecting the meme to a social cause.
And that connection, that pivot from meme to mission, seems crucial for justifying the next big piece, the transparency. Because, the meme coin world is just riddled with anonymous teams.
Which leads to all the rug pulls and scams we hear about.
Exactly. So when we talk about DMND, the founder's background, and the fact that he's not anonymous, that's really the central point they use to differentiate themselves.
Okay, so who is this founder? And what's the deal with them being public? What are the risks they're taking on?
So the founder and lead dev is a guy named Ryan Cohn. And the key thing is he's doxed himself, publicly revealed his identity.
Which is rare.
Extremely rare, and presented as a major security feature. Cohn's put his professional reputation, his actual legal identity, right out there. The claim is this proves there is no secret backdoor to the funds. It basically removes the easiest way for him to just disappear with the money.
Yeah, the classic rug pull.
Source material really hammers this point home, calling it a significant transparency measure in an industry plagued by rug pulls and scams.
Okay, but let's push back on that a little. Transparency builds trust, sure. But didn't the whole crypto thing kind of start with anonymity protecting developers? Protecting them from, personal attacks or even regulatory stuff?
That's a fair point.
If this project gets big, really big, and regulators start sniffing around, or maybe the community turns hostile for some reason, his public identity is suddenly a massive personal risk. Is that security benefit really worth what he's putting on the line personally?
That's definitely the tension here, isn't it? He's basically trading his anonymity for credibility. And his background suggests he probably understands this trade-off pretty well.
What's his background?
Well, he started out in solar sales. Then he actually founded his own solar company. And get this, apparently raised like $1.2 million in sales during the peak of the COVID pandemic.
Wow, okay. So not just tech?
No, that shows serious sales ability, sure, but also scaling a business under pressure, handling operations, managing risk,
Hmm.
high-stakes stuff.
And content creation, presumably, if he's running a company.
Right. So his expertise isn't just like pure blockchain coding. It seems more weighted towards business development, marketing, and leading something visible.
Interesting.
And crucially, he apparently got into crypto way back in 2016. So he's seen multiple bull and bear markets.
Yeah.
That suggests he's not just jumping on a trend. He likely have a more strategic long-term view.
And he has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, a dedicated channel focused specifically on building on the Base blockchain.
Yeah.
Which gives DMND continuous visibility, right? It's constant content. It markets the project, sure, but it also positions him as a knowledgeable figure within that specific Base ecosystem.
So the transparency isn't just defensive, like, see, I'm not a scammer. It's proactive. It's a marketing tool, proof of commitment. It ties the project's success directly to his personal brand.
Pretty much. The implication is, if DMND fails spectacularly, his reputation takes a massive hit, which is, a pretty powerful motivator to make it work.
Okay, so we've got the story, the empowered female Pepe, the transparent founder. Let's shift gears now. Let's talk about the engine underneath it all, the money side. If Diamond's aiming for Diamond status, what do the tokenomics actually look like? What are the nuts and bolts of the DMND supply?
Right, the mechanics. They seem designed for clarity, which fits the transparency theme. It's an ERC20 token on Base. So it's all out there on the blockchain, auditable. Total supply is capped at 1 billion DMND tokens.
Okay, a fixed supply. Basic anti-inflation measure.
Exactly. And right now, the token's live, trading on Base,
Yeah.
mostly on Uniswap v3, some other DEXs too. The market cap, according to the sources, is still pretty low, under $2 million. So
Yeah.
definitely in that low cap, potentially high risk, high reward zone.
Which makes the allocation of that 1 billion supply super important. How's it broken down? Especially things like locked tokens, which usually signal commitment.
Yeah, the allocation follows what they present as a transparent model. Think 1010, 010. So 10% of the total supply is locked up, specifically locked to prevent insiders from manipulating the market.
So, stopping team members from dumping tokens right after launch.
That's the idea. Communicating stability, protecting smaller investors.
Is 10% locked? Is that a lot?
Yeah.
Or just standard? Sometimes you see much bigger chunks locked.
It's definitely a floor, not a ceiling, in terms of what could be locked. The sources say 10% is locked against manipulation, which suggests the other parts have strict purposes. Another 10% is set aside for the core team, for development efforts, and a final 10% is for marketing. So only 10% for the team, 10% for marketing. That's actually quite lean compared to some anonymous projects where you might see like 30% or even more going to the team, creating this huge potential sell-off risk.
Right. So if 10% is locked, 10% team, 10% marketing, that's 30%. That leaves 70%. Where does that go?
Reserved for community distribution. That's the remaining bulk.
70%. That's actually a pretty big chunk allocated to the users and the ecosystem itself.
It seems like a very deliberate choice. Aligning the project's potential value heavily with its users, not just the founders. It reinforces that transparency claim, shifting the success burden onto community engagement, which is normal for meme coins, but here it's backed by this transparent accounting, supposedly.
Okay, let's talk about the infrastructure. Why Base? We know it's Coinbase's layer 2, it's built on Ethereum, but strategically, why pick Base for this specific project with this roadmap we're about to get into, especially being an ERC20 token?
Choosing Base feels foundational to their goals, both for scaling and for reputation. Building on Base gives them immediate access to, well, fast transactions and really low gas fees.
Which is crucial for a meme coin, right? Lots of small trades, community interaction.
Absolutely essential. But maybe more importantly, Base has that Coinbase backing. That brings a layer of perceived trustworthiness, even if it's just by association.
They're kind of hitching their wagon to Base's own push for mainstream adoption.
Exactly. And being an ERC20 token on Base means maximum interoperability. This is really important for things like the Launchpad they're planning, which we'll get to. It needs to easily connect with other apps and protocols within the Base ecosystem.
If they'd picked some obscure chain or their own custom token standard.
It would create way more friction for launching those utility parts. So they're clearly optimizing for easy integration and, let's call it, reputational borrowing from Base and Coinbase.
So these technical choices aren't just features on a list, they're strategic decisions. The token distribution supports the founders' transparency claims, and the Base network provides the sort of institutional-grade setup for the utilities they want to build later.
Yeah, it feels like a unified structural approach.
Yeah.
Even though, it's still operating in the super risky, low-cap meme world. All right, now we get to the real meat of this deep dive, that official roadmap. The sources lay out a pretty comprehensive three-phase roadmap. But this is really crucial for you to understand while they've detailed what they plan to build, all the different initiatives.
The source material specifically says no explicit timelines.
Right.
No Q1 2026 target or anything like that.
Precisely. So our focus has to be on the content of the plan, the strategy behind the 5 themes they've listed, and how feasible they seem, not on when they'll happen.
Okay, fair enough. That lack of dates doesn't kill the roadmap's value. Maybe it just means they're focusing on hitting milestones rather than sticking to a rigid calendar. Let's start with the stuff aimed at getting eyes on the project, keeping the community buzzing. Theme 1, content and visibility.
Yeah, and the big headline item here is pretty ambitious, technically speaking. The AI agent deployment.
An AI agent, what's that about?
The plan is to actually develop an AI specifically designed to push out DM&D content. Not just basic posting, but actively distributing, like tailored content across the big crypto discussion platforms.
So places like CoinMarketCap, Reddit, Quora, X, formerly Twitter. This sounds like trying to automate visibility, right? Solving that huge problem for small projects. How do you stay visible everywhere without a massive team constantly posting?
That seems to be the goal. But let's inject some reality here. Think about the operational challenges. X, Reddit. They have algorithms specifically designed to catch and shut down automated content. They call it spam, bot activity.
Great, you could get your accounts banned pretty quickly.
Exactly.
Ah,
So how effective can this AI agent really be at mimicking real human engagement without constantly getting flagged and blocked? That feels like a massive hurdle.
yeah, if that AI gets deployed and then immediately banned from the major platforms, that could basically kneecap their main visibility strategy right there. Its success really depends on how sophisticated, how human-like that AI can be.
And this AI push is running alongside more traditional stuff. They emphasize continued video content from the founder's YouTube channel, posts on the official social media.
So it's a two-pronged approach. Automated mass distribution plus human-led, founder-driven content, trying to keep engagement going long after the initial launch hype dies down.
That seems to be the plan. And it relies heavily, the sources mention, on getting external validation through ongoing partnerships with KOLs, key opinion leaders.
Influencers, basically.
Yeah, especially influencers active on the Base network. Those partnerships are probably essential to cut through all the noise and competition for attention there.
Okay, so that visibility plan then feeds directly into the next theme, theme 2, community growth and collaboration.
Right. The goal here is stated as organic user base expansion. They're banking on that high-quality, targeted content, both the human stuff and the AI stuff, to attract actual users, not just short-term speculators.
So maintaining an active, stable presence on YouTube, Telegram, Discord, X, Twitter, all the main channels. But, in the meme coin world, organic growth can flip into coordinated FUD or attacks really fast. How does having a transparent founder help manage those sudden community shifts?
Well, theoretically, that transparency allows for clearer communication, especially during market downturns when meme coin communities often fracture or turn negative. The founder being visible makes it easier to state intentions directly, address concerns, rather than letting fear, uncertainty, and doubt just spiral out of control.
Trying to build loyalty based on the mission and the founder, not just the token price going up.
That seems to be the strategy, building a more resilient community, perhaps.
Okay, let's pivot now. Moving away from just content and community management towards generating actual lasting value or utility. Let's look at theme 3, tokenomics and sustainability. This is where that deflationary idea comes in.
Yes, this is their attempt to connect the tokens ecosystem to some kind of real-world revenue stream. The main mechanism here is launching a merchandise store.
Selling DMND branded stuff like t-shirts, hoodies.
Presumably. But the key detail isn't just having a store, it's what they plan to do with the money. The plan is that the proceeds from merch sales will be specifically used to fund token burns.
Ah, the merch to burn model. We've seen other projects try this.
We have.
Let's challenge the feasibility, though. For burning tokens to actually put a dent in a 1 billion supply and create meaningful deflationary pressure, that merch store needs to generate substantial and consistent revenue.
That's the big question mark, isn't it?
Given DMND is still under a $2 a market cap, and the mascot, while unique, is still niche, how realistic is it that selling merch is going to create enough scarcity to really drive the price up long term?
Historically, relying on merchandise sales for significant token burns is difficult. Profit margins on merch are usually pretty thin, and the volume needed to seriously reduce a billion token supply is huge. It would require massive adoption of the brand itself beyond just crypto speculators buying the token.
So it's a nice idea tying tangible revenue to crypto scarcity.
Brilliant concept, absolutely. But the execution is tough. It probably functions more as a symbolic gesture, a visible commitment to deflation, rather than a mathematically guaranteed path to rapid scarcity. We'd need to see actual sales numbers to judge its real impact.
Fair enough. It's a visible commitment, even if the actual quantitative effect is debatable until proven.
Exactly. And the credibility of that whole narrative, the empowerment, the merch revenue, flows right into the next theme. Theme 4, social impact initiatives. This is where they really try to make that story operational.
Right. The plan here is pretty direct, actually supporting charities. Specifically, charities that help women who've been affected by abusive or toxic relationships.
This gives the project a quantifiable social good aspect. It elevates it, potentially, beyond just being about making money. It creates a reason for maybe mainstream media or non-crypto people to even talk about it.
Yeah, a different angle entirely.
But the sources also mention a much more provocative strategy tied to this theme, and strategically risky too.
Ah, yes, the celebrity airdrops. The plan involves sending DMND tokens, unsolicited, to celebrities who've been involved in publicly known toxic relationships.
Yeah, this is pure headline chasing, a calculated PR stunt.
Extremely high risk, high reward marketing, you could say.
Definitely. The goal seems twofold. Grab massive public attention by linking the token to famous people, and simultaneously reinforce the project's mission by connecting it to real-world, highly public discussions about these difficult relationship dynamics. But the potential downside is huge.
Oh yeah. Celebrity airdrops can backfire spectacularly. If the celeb acknowledges it, they might face heat for potentially shilling crypto without disclosure. If they ignore it or reject it publicly, the project could look insensitive, opportunistic.
And potentially undermine the genuine charitable work they're trying to do. It risks making the whole social mission look cynical. Can they actually navigate that ethical minefield? And the potential legal one?
The risk of negative sentiment seems enormous. We've seen so many celebrity crypto things go sour, whether they were paid endorsements or just unsolicited links like this. Success here seems to depend entirely on nailing the PR execution.
Making it look like a genuine gesture aligned with the mission, not just a cheap marketing trick. It's probably the single most volatile piece of their entire roadmap in terms of potential outcomes.
Okay, let's move to the final theme, the one focused on building lasting infrastructure. Theme 5, infrastructure development. This feels like where they try to shift from being just a token to being something more foundational.
Exactly. The big item here is the plan to deploy a community launchpad.
A launchpad. So a platform for launching other crypto projects.
Yes. And this isn't just a gimmick. It signals a commitment to becoming a real part of the base ecosystem infrastructure. The stated goal for this launchpad is specifically to promote and support other crypto projects that are ethical and transparent.
Ah, okay. So DMND is trying to basically institutionalize its own core value proposition, transparency, ethics. By building this launchpad, they're positioning themselves as a kind of ethical gatekeeper or curator for new projects building on Base.
It's a significant strategic move. If successful, this launchpad acts as a support system for new projects that want to enter the market ethically, demonstrating the same kind of transparency DMND claims to champion.
And if they pull it off.
If they can actually execute this launchpad effectively, it could completely change how DMND is perceived. It stops being just a meme token and starts becoming a platform, an infrastructure provider. It would also give the DMND token itself real utility, maybe through fees on the launchpad or governance rights over which projects get featured.
That Launchpad initiative feels like the strongest signal that the founder really is aiming for long-term sustainability, not just a quick pump.
Agreed. Overall, this roadmap, even without concrete dates, paints a picture of a surprisingly sophisticated, multi-layered strategy. It covers marketing, tokenomics, social impact, and actual infrastructure building. Every piece seems designed to maximize visibility while trying to address or mitigate the typical risks you see with meme coins.
Okay, let's pull this all together. We've dissected the narrative, the founder, the tokenomics, the ambitious roadmap. In this absolute ocean of anonymous, often structureless meme coins, DMND is clearly trying very hard to stand out. What are the core things, the key differentiators that genuinely set it apart based on our research?
I think the number one differentiator is accountability. You've got that transparent, publicly known founder, Ryan Cohn, with a track record in business and content.
Not just some random anon dev.
Right. And that accountability seems baked into the financial structure, too. The tokenomics focus on the community, with relatively small, clearly defined allocations for the team and marketing, plus that locked portion. It aims to reduce that centralized sell-off risk.
And they're not just relying on hype. There's a plan, a detailed, multi-phase roadmap, even if it lacks dates. It suggests a focus on planning and execution, which is rare.
Definitely. And then you have the other layers, the social mission, supporting women's causes, which adds narrative depth. Plus, they're strategically using the base network, trying to leverage its institutional credibility for their own infrastructure, like that planned ethical launchpad.
They're sort of weaponizing structure and transparency against the usual chaos of the meme coin market.
That's a good way to put it.
But we have to stay realistic. Despite all these structural plus points, it's still operating in the meme coin sector. What are the unavoidable risks? The things you, the listener, absolutely need to keep in mind, even with this level of transparency.
Yeah, it's crucial to stress. Transparency does not cancel out market risk. DMND is still subject to the huge, often irrational swings of the broader crypto market. And specifically, its low market cap, under $2 million, means things like thin trading volume, sharp price drops. Those are very real possibilities.
Liquidity could dry up fast.
It could. And while the founder's transparency is presented as a strength, it also, paradoxically, creates a potential single point of failure, a centralization risk in a way.
How so?
Well, the success of executing such an ambitious roadmap really hinges on him, on Ryan Cohn's continued engagement and leadership, and also on continued enthusiasm from the community. What happens if he steps back for some reason? Or if the community just loses interest during a long crypto winter?
The whole plan could just stall out.
It could. And beyond the project itself, you just have the inherent nature of the meme coin market. It's driven by sentiment, by hype cycles. Projects can lose 90% of their value almost overnight for reasons that have nothing to do with their internal structure or utility plans. That risk is always there.
So, bottom line, how should we think about DMND's position in the broader market landscape?
Based purely on the source material we've reviewed, the white paper, the roadmap, the founder's stance, we could say with some confidence that DMND presents itself as one of the more structured meme coin projects currently on Base.
More structured than most, yeah.
The transparency, the detailed plan, it definitely elevates it above the typical anonymous zero utility meme coin. But that structure is a foundation. It's not a guarantee of success. It still requires all the usual due diligence you'd apply to any high-risk, low-cap investment.
The challenge isn't the concept, maybe, but pulling off all those complex pieces. The AI agent, the merch burn actually working, the launch pad.
Exactly. High-volume, successful execution is the key challenge ahead for them. #outro.
So this deep dive, I think, really highlights a potential evolution in the meme coin game. This isn't just launching a funny picture and hoping it goes viral. It's a very calculated effort to take a meme narrative and actually build a platform around it.
Using things like deflationary tokenomics, the merch burn idea, and aiming for real utility with that ethical launchpad concept, it feels like an attempt to find permanence, or at least longevity, in a notoriously fleeting market.
Absolutely. And the real test, the true measure of success here, will be watching if they actually execute on that detailed roadmap. Not necessarily hitting imaginary dates, because they haven't given any, but hitting the milestones.
Can they get that AI agent working effectively without getting shut down? Can the social impact stuff, like those risky celebrity airdrops, actually generate positive buzz without backfiring?
Right. That execution is what will determine if DMND manages to shift perception from just being another meme to being seen as a genuine, maybe mission-driven utility project on the Base network.
And that complexity, that strategic depth, brings us to our final thought. Something for you, the listener, to mull over.
We've seen that transparency and a detailed plan are definitely rare in the meme coin space. But the question is, how much actual value does having a public founder and an ambitious roadmap really add to a project with a tiny market cap in such a volatile sector?
Is this kind of structure just about mitigating downside risk? Or can it genuinely overcome the chaotic, unpredictable, meme-driven energy that often seems to fuel the biggest winners in this space?
Ultimately, in the meme coin world, does structure beat chaos? Or is it the other way around?
Something to think about as you watch DMND and other projects try to navigate this space.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into DMND on Base. We hope this breakdown of their plans and structure was useful. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the source material. Happy learning.